I want to bring in somebody who's been following this and has been quite insightful on Twitter. Let's bring in the founder of the Article 3 Project, Mike Davis. Mike, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
It's quite interesting, right? We've been going through this bill and we kind of suspected that it was going to be bad, but I don't think we suspected it was going to be this bad. Now they're trying to do damage control and say that this is a win for Republicans and conservatives across the country. You've looked at it. What are you making of all of this?
It is an abomination. It should not be passed. And I don't know why any Senate Republican would want to walk the plank and support this garbage piece of legislation when each one of the top four House Republican leaders have all said that this bill is dead on arrival in the House of Representatives. So it's not going to pass the House, and these Senate Republicans are going to walk the plank and vote for a bill that's dead on arrival. It's stupid. It is bad legally. It's bad as a matter of policy. It's bad as a matter of politics. This is a trifecta. It's horrible.
Yeah, it is, especially when you're going through the details of all of this. They're pretending like this is going to somehow help, but it doesn't look like it. I just don't see a win for Republicans at all in any of this. It also gives funding, billions and billions of dollars to help fund this invasion, and it's also giving more grants to FEMA. I don't understand why we're going to continue to pretend like we need to continue to fund this. What is the advantages to continue to pour billions and billions of dollars into FEMA for this invasion that's happening right now in our country? I don't see it.
There's no advantage whatsoever. President Biden has the same laws on the books that President Trump had on the books. And President Trump was able to get our border under control. And President Biden, on day one, went to war against President Trump's immigration policies. And that's why we are in the disastrous place today. This is $118 billion, and 60 billion of that is going to Ukraine. Why the hell should we spend more in Ukraine this year than we do on the Marine Corps in the United States? Why the hell should we care about Ukraine's border while we let an invasion happen on our southern border?
Yeah. And the invasion that's happening on our southern border is bringing in terrorists. We know this. We covered this last week. I mean, they even let a Somalian terrorist into our country and was living here for almost a year. And there seems to be really no outrage over that issue in DC, unfortunately. There was an interesting tweet that I saw from Julie Kelly that I wanted to kind of mention. It looks like, and I'll have you explain this because you're the great legal mind, not me, but it looks like they are trying to give more power to the DC federal courts to control our immigration system, according to Julie Kelly. Now, this is all, and she's got a great point here. SCOTUS is about to rule on everything regarding J6. And ultimately, this is going to just completely put a dump on these court systems that are already stressed out. But what would this bill do that would have DC courts weighing in? I ultimately just don't understand that in all of this. What did you see in this bill that has the DC courts weighing in?
Bad, because what it does is it prevents these judges throughout the country, including down in Texas, these federal judges, from ruling that these provisions are illegal, right? And it lets these uniparty judges in DC, where you have these DC courts stacked by Obama judges and now Biden judges, deciding these issues. So we're going to have this bipartisan scam deal where we fund Biden's invasion of our southern border. We fund the NGOs, these left-wing NGOs who are human trafficking people into our country. We're funding the cartels. And if you want to go to court to stop this, you have to go to these DC judges instead of to real judges in real America. This is a horrific deal all around. And Senate Republicans, again, should not walk the plank and support this horrific immigration bill that is not going to pass the House of Representatives, according to the top four leaders in the House: the Speaker, the Majority Leader, the Majority Whip, and the House Republican Conference Chair. The four top leaders have said this is dead on arrival. Why would any Senate Republican want to risk their career voting for this immigration bogus bill?
Yeah, and I think that's what that tweet earlier that I alluded to was kind of saying by Michael Lee's staffer, They want to get reelected. They're not ready to leave their jobs and their careers in politics. And so ultimately, like you said, that would be foolish. They're walking a plank here. You mentioned the NGOs, and I want to stress to our audience how important it is that we defund these NGO groups because they are the ones who are leading this invasion in our country. What can be done to defund these NGOs because they play a big role in all of this?
Instead of funding these NGOs, the House Republicans should include appropriations writers and must pass appropriations bills that these NGOs lose all federal funding if they're involved with this human trafficking at our southern border, this invasion of our southern border, which many of them are. They are breaking the law with what they're doing, and the government is subsidizing their lawlessness, and this must stop. We've had almost 10 million migrants come into our country, and these are not asylum seekers and refugees. These are young, fighting age men. If they're asylum seekers, if they're refugees, where the hell are their wives and kids? Why would they leave their wives and kids back home if they're being persecuted? This is a scam.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking about this earlier too. I mean, it's outrageous that the corporate media continues to just focus on the children here and the women who are coming in illegally, but the images always show them. It never shows the young men of fighting age. And unfortunately, the corporate media, it's probably one of the biggest scams they have going for them when they sit there and pretend like this is a humanitarian issue, that these people are just asylum seekers. These people are coming to our country and they come from countries that hate us. And unfortunately, we have a regime right now in control of all of this that wants to kind of pretend like this isn't happening, but eventually it is going to happen. What can House Republicans do now that, they say it's dead on arrival, but is there any lane of opportunity to kind of negotiate something else that's better? Or do you think we just have to wait until we get a new president in the White House at this point?
We should not pass any bill to give any political cover or give any money to Joe Biden for his invasion of our southern border. We need to wait till President Trump is back in office, and he fixed this when he assumed office on January 20th, 2017. He'll fix it again when he assumes office on January 20th, 2025. All you have to do is reinstate President Trump's immigration policies, like his wildly successful Remain in Mexico policy, where these so-called asylum seekers need to claim asylum in Mexico and will provide assistance to them in Mexico. And that drops the asylum down to almost nothing because it proves that this is a scam. They're not refugees. They're not asylum seekers. They're just trying to get into the United States because they have better opportunities here.
Mike, you've worked a little bit on the Hill, so you understand this better than most would understand it. Why are Republicans pretending like we could legislate our way out of this when we already have enough laws on the books that would resolve this issue? What do you think the strategy is for this?
I think too many Republicans are so desperate to give $60 billion more to their defense contractor buddies for Ukraine that they're willing to sell out our sovereignty and our national security at our southern border in order to do this.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It really is. Mike Davis, thanks for joining us. And I want to direct our audience over to your Substack page. You're very insightful. I love it. It's mikedavis.substack.com. Guys, make sure you subscribe because if you're looking for a great angle on all of these stories, it really is quite insightful. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your time.